7 and welcome back to some more D&D Create a Sim, where I take my D&D creations and try to create sims for them. So with this series, part of the challenge is just because D&D is highly fantasy and sims obviously anymore is not. I say anymore with an emphasis. At one point in time there was definitely a more fantasy sort of playfulness, unique oddness, you know, not your total realism with realism spanned in. Technically it still leaned more realistic, but there was at one point in time, in my opinion, there was a bigger fantasy, supernatural, like, that sort of vibe going on, and there's more of those options, and I feel like Sims has lost some of that, and lost some of its, like, little quirkiness, in a way. But I have a lot of CC, so that makes it easier. But it's still sort of a challenge, because obviously, in the world of D&D, there is a lot more races than what is in the world of Sims. And even the other, in Sims' case, they're called occults. Even with those, they're still very, very extremely humanoidy. So, but anyway, today's creation is Vaia Tullay. You should have already seen a sketch of her, or should be currently still seeing the sketch of her, of what I did. And obviously when drawing something out of my head, that's another part of the challenge. Obviously there's not going to be CC unless, you know, I learn how to create CC at some point in time, but I don't have enough time in my life to probably do that. So, but yeah, trying to find something that matches the creation in my head, you know, sometimes is hard. So obviously I have to stretch it a bit. With these characters, since they are creations out of my head, I can at least sort of be like, oh, well, you know, this may not be the outfit I drew her in, but I could see her in this outfit, or see him in this outfit, see they in this outfit, you know, whatever it may be. Or, you know, this hair is pretty close to how, you know, I could imagine it. I could see them wearing this hairstyle instead of the one they potentially have. So it was sort of like, you know, things like that, trying to sort of play around all of that to create these. Vaia Tullay here is a merfolk, so the fact that we got mermaids in Sims, of course I made her a mermaid. She is technically around 6'5" when she is on her feet form, and obviously, if you see my drawing, she does have legs, and she also does have a tail. Works very similar to the Sims mermaid in a way. She is the age of 29. She is obviously a female. She is a druid, and her subclass is Circle of Spores. So part of the reason why I chose that subclass is actually she's going to be slightly more connected to the next character than the other characters in this group. If you watch my last two, there should be, this is the fourth character that's created on my channel. I actually started with making a elf girl, but then my next, like, so many batch of D&D creations were taking the evolutions and loosely creating something based off of them. This is obviously the Vaporeon one. Vaporeon being my favorite evolution, so, you know, I probably was definitely trying a little bit harder to make sure that she looked the way that I really wanted her to. But in my D&D lore, Vaia actually has sort of this inner turmoil going on, and I chose the Circle of Spores because out of all of them, it's one of the ones that is more understanding of the undead and things among that nature as far as druids. From most lore perspectives, obviously you have homebrews and things like that, or you have people that mix homebrew and the original stuff together, so like you take bits of the realistic and more fitting lore to what D&D gives you, and then slightly alter it just to change it up a bit. But in most lores, druids don't really like things of the undead, vampires and such like that. And with Vaia here, I did, like, in my head, maybe at first she started off that way, but she changes, hence why she's actually going to be the Circle of Spores. Also, there's not a water one. There is homebrew ones, and later on I do have I have a few that have some homebrew subclasses, but that's later on down the road. With these guys, I was specifically trying to stick more to more official D&D stuff, so therefore I wanted to use an actual subclass, because I was trying to learn. I'm still learning, but, you know, I was super noob at this point, so trying to get used to all the stuff when I was creating these 9 characters, plus my first one, which was Nita, and trying to learn all of those basics. Now, her main goal is to actually try to help and protect the waters all over the world. Water and, like, you know, things like that is very important to her. She doesn't like the oceans being polluted. She doesn't like things being thrown into lakes. So, you know, that sort of nature, that's, like, her big thing, is to try to keep the waters more cleaner and protected. I do give her Eco-Inventor as an aspiration in The Sims for that reason. And if you've watched the past so many, you know that I am going to be trying to install a mod in when I actually go to play these guys, because I am going to actually do like a little mini-series where all these characters are actually interacting with each other. So I'm hoping to have the mod working that I found that allows you to have 5 traits. It just all depends if it's kept up to date by the time I go to record that mini-series. And the house that these Sims are going to be, like, in, and you're going to see most of, I'm actually also currently building on the channel. So if you want to go check that out, I will try to remember to put a link down in the description below to the D&D group mansion, I think is what I'm calling it at this point. I've bounced around ideas back and forth, and I think that's the one I'm settling on at this point. So anyway, but yeah, I'm building that humongous house, and I keep adding to it because, like, the way that I want to do that little mini-series, I'm like, wait, so it's huge. It's a huge house, and there's a lot to it, and considering all the Sims that are going to be in it, because I'm going to be using MCC to allow more than 8 Sims in the household. So yeah, but I wanted as much personality into these Sims as I could so that I could see how their personalities all happen when they mix together in this little Sims world. But I did at least give her the 5, like, main ones that I wanted to give her. I mean, the 3 main ones at first, just in case the mod is not up to date. Which I gave her Child of the Ocean, I gave her Creative, and I gave her Vegetarian. She does not like, particularly fish, she doesn't like eating fish. She's like, no, I don't eat fish. But I also want to give her Romantic and Proper. A big part of the reason why I want to give her those is, one, her connection to the next character that I'm actually going to create after this. So I'll actually dive more into that connection when I go into their Create a Sim and have their video going on. But also because she actually comes from royalty. She was the oldest princess in her family down into the underwaters where she lived in the ocean. And she was actually set up into an arranged marriage, which she personally doesn't like the whole arranged marriage thing. I partially imagine that her parents went through arranged marriage, and though they get along and they've, like, worked it out for this long, you could tell that they don't truly love each other and, like, don't like to spend time together. It's more of a mutual agreement that we are now king and queen and this is how it is. And she was going to be set up in a similar situation, and she definitely didn't like that. I also, in my head, imagine that the one that they chose to marry her to may have came from a different kingdom of merfolk or such, and didn't actually, even though they lived in the waters, didn't necessarily have, like, the passion for keeping the oceans clean, or even any other waters clean, for that matter. And, you know, that wasn't a main concern of theirs, therefore, that really bothered her. So she actually left him at the altar. And was like, nope, bye, peace, I'm going, leaving. And she, like, left partially because she knew that she would almost be shamed for doing what she did because of just the way her people are and the way her parents are. That was, like, a very big tradition amongst their people. So obviously, you know, they're not going to be very happy that she chose to do that, but she chose to do that because she believed it was the right thing to do. And she meets up with Eva and Fee and starts traveling along with them, and eventually runs into her next character, which is someone of the undead variety, and she starts struggling with the fact that she's like, I'm not supposed to like this person. I don't, like, this is unnatural, because she, like, even though she mainly focuses on the waters, obviously, you know, she's a druid, like, she understands that there's a natural rotation, like, a natural fit to the earth and the world in general. Obviously, it probably wouldn't be called Earth in the realm that she lived in, but you get what I'm saying. The planet. And, you know, undead sort of fit against that unnatural alignment in her mind, so she struggles with it, but then as time goes on, she realizes that not all undead are bad, and some of them are not undead by choice. Like, it's not, they didn't choose to be this way because, like, things, like experimentation and vampirism sometimes is actually forced on people, so she's, like, has a brighter horizons of it, so that is, like, the whole thing. She comes to accept that person, and is like, okay, like, you know, it's not really their fault that they're like this. So, and actually ends up getting pretty close with that said person, which is a constant inner struggle in her head. As far as her looks, as you can see, she has a lot of blues. She does have purples, because again, these are loosely based off the evolutions. So they are going to have a similar color scheme to the actual evolution. That is one of the big main things that does come directly from that Pokemon. But I did want to give her more of a flowy look. I loved the purple on the blue. Her outfit, it's actually, the skirt is long in the back, but at least with this, it had at least that long piece on the side, and it had some pieces that almost like this, like the top and the skirt could connect, like the little string running through there. So it got the job done for what I was wanting it to. And obviously the little tiara, I gave her a tiara because she is a princess still technically, even though she sort of ran away from home and such. But she technically still is from royalty. So yeah, she still wears it. And I also imagine that maybe it's just like some sort of family connection, maybe even at some point a spiritual type connection in a way. But yeah, so, and she does have a mermaid form, obviously, because, you know, she is a merfolk. She gets a tail. Merfolk, I can't remember the full-on details about them, but merfolk are pretty broad. But yeah, she gets a lovely, beautiful tail when she jumps into the water, and I liked the purple tail in this one and how sparkly it was, because I liked sort of, I didn't get very super details into her tail because I didn't want to get too detailed in the tail. I wanted it to be sort of more on the simple side. But anyway, I hope you like how Vaia turned out. I've had these fin pieces in my game for a while, so, and I've only used them like once maybe, so I was glad that I got to use them for her. And it fits the fact that, you know, she is, the way I drew her, and also the fact that she is loosely based off of Vaporeon, it fits quite well, so I actually was pretty pleased. Really like how Vaia turned out. Let me know down in the comments below how you think of Vaia. Are you liking this series so far? Are you looking forward to the rest? Do you like the stories of these characters? I'd love to hear about it down in the comments below. But until next time, I will be seeing you. Make sure you like and all that lovely YouTube goodness. But bye-bye for now!